Hey, I'm Jan Ozer. Today I'm speaking with Marc Todd, CEO of Skreens, about Tessera, their new server-side build-your-own multi-view platform. With multi-view rapidly becoming standard for premium sports viewing, especially following ESPN's recent rollout, Marc will share how Tessera works, how quickly it can be deployed, and what lessons broadcasters can learn from the first wave of industry multi-view implementations. Thanks for joining me, Marc.
Thanks, Jan. Nice to see you.
You too. So while we're here, what is Tessera and where does that name come from?
Yeah, never let engineers run the marketing, but actually, Iron Man and whatnot. The Tesseract was the cube. Tessera is Latin from the ancient Greek, meaning four. So a four up or a four-sided. So a four up multi-view might be a Tessera. So that's where Tessera.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, jump in. You're going to show us what it is, what it does, is how it works, and why we want it. So let's go.
Fantastic. So we're starting with the evolution of multi-views. So let's discuss for a second the industry as it's evolved with multi-views. So, to start out with, for a long time now, we've had client-side multi-views. And client-side multi-views have gotten spectacular. I mean, if you watch F1 and Tile Media, and these companies are doing fantastic work.
So what is when you say client side? What do you mean? You mean?
Yeah. So client side meaning that what's happening is that the code that's decoding and creating the multi-view on the screen is happening local to the customer at the viewer, and so these are typically the requirement is you need the hardware working at the right power level. So typically mobile devices, PCs, Apple TVs, certain Rokus have the hardware required to send all the video down, do the decoding and the mixing and everything, and output a multiple channel multi-view. And so in that scenario, when you have that, it's fantastic because it allows on the client side to make whatever you want. And so you're personalizing it. So this has been going on a long time. The issue has been you haven't been able to get across every single viewer for big screen TVs. So in particular for sports, when you're doing big screen TVs, it is a little bit of a hole here because if I don't have right hardware at that TV, and sometimes even if I have that hardware, it can't do 4K 60 or it's, and these things blow up to like 80 inches and the quality of the video, the bit rate, all that stuff's going to matter. And it's hard to do with client side. So that's been some of the limits of the client side, more for the infrastructure. And then this actually led to what happened next. YouTube TV in like 23, 24, all of a sudden put server-side multi-views out. They got the NFL the rights, and they said, you know what if we put 4 games up, 3 games up, and we'll just make new channels on the server side. So all the compute is done up at the server, and I can put out a higher quality image down to the subscriber, and they simply tune into the right channel. And all of a sudden, I mean, their success was well known out there. I mean, they're gaining subscribers left and right. They're now 40% of the market share. It is huge stuff. So with all that success, what did YouTube do? Took all that feedback and went, the multi-views are great, but we're going to need build your own multi-view. Clearly. I mean, anybody who watches sports, anybody who does any of this, if you do anything watching sports, you're watching a 4-up and you're like, wait a minute, I need to watch the South Carolina-Georgia game, and that's not in the 4-up I have. You got to get out, you got to change the channel, you got to do it. You're like, I just want to choose what I want. I want to choose my own. And so that's exactly what they did. They announced build your own. They've been rolling it out. I think they're expanding it here in the NFL football season. And everybody who watches sports is like, why wouldn't I want that? So that level of success is happening, and they're doing that on the server side.
Server, just to make the point, the server side means from the user's perspective, that's just another channel. I choose a channel, it's got 4-up. And what does that mean for compatibility?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Compatibility means it's going to work on every single screen. It's going to work on all of your big screens. It's going to work on your PCs, your mobile devices. It'll work on your on your Tesla car, in the middle of the Tesla car if you want. It'll work on any screen that you want because it's actually generated and the compute is happening up in the cloud. And the only thing getting sent down is a single transport stream, a single video that it's a single decode. So even if you've got 4 videos, there's only one video coming down.
So it's just like any other channel.
Just like any other channel. Yep.
Okay, got it.
Perfect. Now to augment this, I mean, a lot of other people are doing multi-views, and they're quite deep in it. I can tell you that Comcast is fantastic service as well. They got some great interactivity stuff there. But one thing that was hot off the presses was ESPN. The reason I call this out is that this is a big deal, in that ESPN did something really spectacular where they have integrated betting and fantasy and dynamic interactive elements, buying stuff, all kinds of personalization around their sports content. And if you're running on an Apple TV, you can actually create a customized 4-up. So now I can create the 4 games I want, I can bet on them, I can watch my fantasy, and I can buy stuff from it. And that, I believe, is the future of what every sports fan wants.
Well, suppose you're not on an Apple TV.
Yeah, I mean, according to their press release and what I've read on some of the stuff, if you're not on an Apple TV, and again, that's the client-side conundrum. If you're not on an app, have the hardware there, then what happens is that you're going to use static multi-views. You'll tune into static multi-views that you don't choose, and static multi-views are fine. They choose, but it has the artifact, the same type of problem, that if I put 4 up, but it's not the 4 I bet on, I got to change channels and stuff. But,
it seems like you're making distinctions. You've got client side, which is very flexible but limited reach. You've got static multi-views, which plays everywhere but may not be exactly what the customers want. And then you've got build your own multi-view, which is everything, but at least from an ESPN perspective, is available only on Apple TVs and platforms like that.
Correct. And I think that's where it's at right now. And yeah, certainly makes sense. One thing that you're going to see here, though, I mean, I take a second to say in the evolution of multi-views, one thing that is extremely clear now, whereas a year, 2 years, or 3 years ago, it was questionable, right? You had people saying, I don't know, I tried multi-views back in the 70s, didn't work, nobody wants to watch 2 things at once. I get all that. All I'm saying is that now the voting public has voted, especially with sports, bar none, for whatever reason why they want to watch it, they want the multi-views. And now going forward, there's not a future for linear broadcast that wants to carry sports where the user's going to say, yeah, give me the non-build your own multi-view service. I'll do that. Like nobody, because if you're a sports fan and you're doing this stuff, you'll understand immediately how addictive it is. And this means, though, it has a certain property that we have all kinds of MVPDs, cable content providers, huge amount of people carrying sports content around the world. And the one thing that's happening with subscription TV in particular, it's kind of approaching a zero-sum game. And so if one provider charges ahead and starts winning subscribers, they're pulling them from other subscribers. So you're ending up with winners and losers. And as that happens, that losing subscriber churn is really a huge financial loss. So everyone getting to stay consistent and moving this stuff forward needs to find a way to get into build your own. If you have 3 million subscribers, you've got to find a way to get those guys to have build your own on big screen TVs, because all these other providers are going to be doing it. And that's really what I'm saying here, is that reason Skreens is here today, reason we're at IBC, we'll talk, and we're going to dive into it deeper here on this presentation. But the idea here is that Tessera allows you to buy the very build your own server-side solution in a cost-effective, fast manner that works with your existing technology. And Skreens has been around for quite a while. We are a deep tech startup company specifically designed around hyper-personalization And it's our Pixel Fusion technology running from the cloud that makes this possible. And we'll dig into it more, Jan, as we kind of dig into the presentation.
Okay, let's go.
Fantastic. Okay, so here's the marketing slide. I won't bore you too much with it, but the graphic is fantastic. Skreens Tessera is, again, a build your own. BYOMV is what people are calling it. And it's a platform. We're not trying to go right to consumers. That's not our game. Our game here is that we're empowering providers, content service providers, rights holders, leagues, everybody who wants to enhance that direct customer solution. And it's easy to deploy. It runs with your existing infrastructure. I'll show you some block diagrams. It's universally compatible, like you said before, works on anything. You don't need an SDK. You can make everything work from your user interface with a couple of API calls. And it's dynamic, server-side, cloud orchestration, scheduling, all kinds of stuff. And more importantly, it's real-time. Real-time, up to 4K 60 and beyond. Actually, we do beyond that too. So the point is that you get a lot of power here, and it's a quick turn. So here's a little bit of a video of what's going on. This is Skreens, Tessera in real life. We have a remote control where we're showing you, we're making the API calls from a remote control in an Apple iPhone, sending commands up to, in this example, several states away, and issuing, I want these 3 multiviews, I want those 3 multiviews from a channel list. And the video is being edited up in the cloud, and it's being shot back down. And
it's happening that quickly. It's
happening that quickly. Yeah, it's happening that quickly. Yeah, and it's, you don't have to use our app. This is API driven. So what'll happen is a service provider will say, okay, I'm going to control. You're absolutely going to control your own, subscriber's journey. You're going to have your own remote control, and you're going to press the button, whatever the button is, and it'll pop up, build your own multi-view, and we'll show examples of this. You'll select those, and you'll say launch or tune in or do it, and it will tune. So Skreens by itself running end-to-end is sub 200 milliseconds. So, we're not going to be the latency factor in what's going on. Certain providers will have CDNs between what Skreens is outputting down to and putting through their DRM and other things like that. That may add a few seconds in there. But the idea is the same, is you're literally creating a brand new TV show, if you will, using the old parlay, and you're editing that in real time.
Okay, got it.
Perfect. So let's see here. So I want to talk about the architecture at high level for a second. We'll take our time with this. Skreens has a couple products. One product that we have deployed today, some customers are using it already, is what we call the server-side multiview. This is a cloud-based engine that sits between the provider's input channels. So a provider will have all the linear broadcast channels, CBS, ESPN, and so forth, and they will have their CDN. And so we're sitting in the cloud, and what the idea is that the provider wants to say to us, listen, at 2 in the afternoon on Saturday, I want a 3-up multi-view with these 3 games. I want a 4-up multi-view with these 4 games, and I want to send them back to us. And those are specifically engineered and targeted for a region. So they give us that stuff on a Tuesday for a Saturday, and it's scheduled, it's orchestrated, it spins up, it spins down. Skreens runs this managed service, so we help. We watch things, we have the monitoring elements, all of that stuff's baked in. And the provider does this. And so what it looks like is the video comes to us. Our Skreens multi-view engines take that and it builds the multi-view, outputs them to the CDN, and then the user simply tunes into the channel that the provider wants it on, and that channel is now the multi-view. And this is essentially the static concept. And so if the provider wants to create 10 multi-views for a couple million subscribers, you can do that. You want to create 50, you want to create 100, you want to create 10,000, you can do that. But when the provider eventually says, listen, this control is fantastic, and they do say it's fantastic because the provider needs the ability to pin up popular things like, okay, I've got Olympic trials happening on Thursday night. I want to pin up 3 multi-views to this region. I want 2 multi-views to that region. They want that control. So that's fantastic. But at a certain point, they're like, you know what? I got to add build your own. How do I get build your own? And so you might say, well, you could do the server-side stuff and just create all the combinations of what a user would be able to create. Well, if you take 25 channels that a user can select and you try to do all the permutations of the multi-views for that, you're in the 56,000 multi-view statics to do. And if you spun up 56,000 multi-views, the user's only going to select one. So the point is that it's for the build your own concept, it's not the right mechanism, which is why we're suggesting what you want to do is move on to Tessera. And again, brand new, Tessera Build Your Own Multiview has a similar architecture. Again, we're going to take the streams from the provider and we're going to target the provider's CDN, so it's going to work the same way, so the infrastructure is exactly the same. Difference here is that the user's app, and again, engineering-wise, underneath the hood, every engineer is going to yell at me right off the bat and says, set-top box is not going to talk to your system. I know. It's going to go through, but conceptually what's going to happen here is that the user is going to ask for a multi-view. I want 2 channels. I want Fox Miami and I want ABC Miami. And what's going to happen is Skreens is going to say, fine, no problem. We're going to take the Skreens Pixel Fusion engine, which is now the real-time engine, and we're going to edit it. I'm going to make the edit in real time, just like you saw on the video, and it's going to be available immediately on channel 1. User tunes into channel 1, voila, you have your channel. Now you spun up one multi-view for what the user asked for. One huge property about the build your own. It's massive. If you're an ops person, you'll get this right away. You didn't have to spin up 57,000 channels for this. When the user asks for something, there's immediate value. The cost and value are tied together. They're linked. Because the cost and value are tied so tightly together, the cost of what it costs and the value of what you see, we can create this element where we can step the cost as the people are asking for more specific or unique multi-views. So to give you an idea, if somebody is in Boston, for example, and I'm in Boston, I'm using my remote control, and I have a service, and I say, I want the Bruins and the Celtics game. Perfect. I ask for that. It goes through, it makes it for me, bam, it's up. Right off the bat, the provider got real value because now I'm watching longer right off the bat. And the next thing that's happening is that other people in my neighborhood are also doing the same thing. And so when they ask for the same multi-view, we don't create another multi-view. The provider simply gives them the same channel, tune to channel 7, it's the same one. So you're getting all of a sudden with one multi-view, which is going to cost you somewhere between, I don't know, $4 to $12, something like that in that neighborhood. I'll talk about price in a little bit. So for the cost of, let's call it $20, for $20, you've created a multi-view from Skreens' perspective, and all of a sudden I'm watching it as a user. So there's one user, and I've got 10,000 other users in Boston that are tuning in on the same one. So for $20, I'm entertaining 10,000 people. When an ad runs, say for a $20 CPM, that's 10 times 20, that's $200 you just made, and it costs you 20. Now that model allows you to then keep that in tune. If the guy next door asks for a 3-channel, I want the Bruins, I want the Celtics, and now I want Cooking Network, fine. We'll stretch out with you. We try it. Well, there might only be 4 people watching that. That's okay because you only spent $20. So the idea here is this is a lot more, it's not just cost effective, it's got a tremendous amount of power behind it. But any questions about the high level architecture? This is the back end. I'm going to talk about the user interface in a second here.
I think I'm good.
Good.
Go ahead.
Okay, so now look at it from the engineer, both the engineer that has to write and the product manager has to design the user interface on the set-top box or in the service as the service providers in the app. And from their perspective and from the customer's perspective, what's going to happen is that I'm going to have to allow the user to choose how to build a multi-view. So this representation is a build your own multi-view UI, which is a model. And underneath the hood, it's just the API calls, which is what you're going to do. And so what will happen in this model is eventually you're going to have some kind of a pop-up or some kind of a guide that has a list of channels that say to the user, pick the multi-view, the first channel you want in your multi-view. And I say, oh, okay, I'm going to select ABC Miami. I want that. I want that channel in my multi-view. Right away what happens is that there's an interesting step here that happens. From the user interface, the set-top box code makes a message back saying, I got ABC. This guy's building an own multi-view. What other channels are already around, already have multi-views that have ABC Miami? So they get that list of channels of already pre-created, not pre-created, they could be pre-created or created by neighbors or whatever, those channels. In addition, they have the list of channels that are hot. Everybody's watching Fox Miami. There's some kind of sporting event on, everyone's watching that. This allows the UI and the provider to reconfigure that list and resort it in a way that puts the popular stuff on top and puts other things down below. And then maybe down below that, they're putting things like the Cooking Network or History Channel or something where it's not in multi-view. So if the user selected those, it would generate a new multi-view. So this allows something which is bigger, but we call it the Skreens Smart Throttle technology. This allows the provider under their own control to throttle how many new multi-views get created behind the scene in the back end. If you don't,
and to push people to existing multi-views.
Yeah, and another nice side effect, exactly. Another side effect of this is that, and I know I use this idea, is that I don't know what's popular. I mean, you can tell by my outfit, I don't know what's popular. I'm not hip. I'm just, but I.
Hey, what are you talking? I'm wearing the same thing. I mean, what do you mean it's not popular?
I reiterate that. No, what's popular? I don't. So all of a sudden, oh wait a minute. Oh, CNN's on. What's on CNN? Maybe I'll click on that. Oh, there's a news. I want to keep an eye on the football game, but I want to keep an eye. There's a fire somewhere, right? In other words, you're helping the user entertain themselves. So there's all kinds of upside that the product and the product teams at the who are creating the customer journey can create with that couple of simple APIs. And now at this juncture, the user will select the next channel and say, I want Fox Miami. You go through the same process. You reconfigure the list. You do whatever you want to do. You're in complete control. You're using the smart throttle, so it's not spinning off into space into, all of a sudden in a 2-hour period, 1 million multi-views were created. It's all under control. And then eventually says, you know what, launch this. But what does launch really mean? It means either make the multi-view or give me the multi-view, and I'm tuning into the station. I tune into it, and for the user, now I'm watching it. Now there's a reciprocal side to this in that the provider then can keep they've got the numbers, they look at the control and all of a sudden say, you know what, multi-view 7, no one's watching that anymore. Why don't we free that up? And we'll free that up for reuse, that somebody else could change it. So there's all kinds of little nuances that we can talk about. But this is as straightforward and as easy as we can make it so that it can be used by any provider, any app, any client side. And by the way, even if you are a client-side multi-view service and you're doing that, we're not competing with client-side multi-views. We're synergistic. All we're doing is taking the equation of if you don't have enough compute where you are, have us build it for you and we'll stream it back down and you can sum it in. So we think that the ecosystem, the rich ecosystem of everybody involved in this is going to benefit from this one facet that we're trying to provide, which is the dynamic real-time pixel fusion technology.
Give me some perspective from existing customers. I mean, how many channels? I mean, are people really stingy with their channels, or are they opening them up? What's your experience tell you?
In general, customers we have are, you're talking about the is the customer stingy or is the provider stingy?
Is the customer, are they really stingy with the number of multi-view channels they make available, or do they make like a ton available because they find
the
people
providers, yeah, the providers we're working with do a great job with their customers, and I'll tell you, those guys know their business because they've got such tight KPIs on what's going on. They know what they're trying to do, and they measure it, and then they've got these things. They're absolutely opening up the number of multi-views, and they're getting more intelligence behind it. They're putting more like what's happening, why is it happening, and so.
I mean, is it ones and twos, dozens, hundreds, thousands? I mean, what do you see in terms of typical usage?
Yeah. Well, some of our providers are massive in scale. So if you're going across 10 million subscribers, you got, I don't even know, how many ad zones is that, right? Each ad zone has local affiliates. So if you want to create a multi-view for Boston, the ABC is different in Boston than it is in Miami. And so that generates physically more multi-views, but the people in Boston will get a subset which are Boston related. And another thing about that is that, so you'll end up with lots of multi-views, and then the program will run. So let's take NFL as a good one because it's very rigid. I get the 1 o'clock games and I get the 4 o'clock games. At the end of the 1 o'clock games, you tear down all of those multi-views and then you spin up a whole 4 o'clock one, right? There's a time element to the number of multi-views.
I'm trying to, I mean, again, is it 5 multi-views per area? Is it 20? Is it 100? I mean,
I don't know. I think it's inside 20, depending on what they do. It depends on the popularity of what's happening. But I'm trying to give you that also time dimension. Like on Monday night or Tuesday night, you might only have one multi-view or none, like in where the things are. I can tell you this though, when you build your own multi-view, I believe the users will find they're going to want it on Tuesdays, Wednesdays. You know, they're going to get addicted to the idea that, wait a minute, I can watch Game of Thrones and then I can keep an eye on the Bruins because I got $5 on the over, right? Like, in other words, what's going to happen is, and I believe, and I believe so strongly in this, that I'm going to show you the pricing model. We're going to walk that with you. I'm not asking you to bet up front with us. I think that the obviousness of what people are going to come up with when you give them personalization, people personalize. It's just the nature of the beast. So,
okay.
Yeah, cool.
Let's see it.
All right, implementation made easy. The goal, what Skreens has been trying to do, is trying to make Tessera rapid to deploy and quick and easy. And we've partnered with many other serious providers, equipment and service providers and cloud providers in the industry to fill out that ecosystem service to try to offer the best to the end customer. And so the first phase of the integration and pilot, so the first thing that we want to do is spin up a screen system, get your live video flows, make sure that they work into our system, make sure that we can output them back to your CDN, the IP addresses, the manifest files, everything's working, and make sure it goes down, make sure your user interface engineer builds whatever they're going to do for phase one or whatever the details they want to do. Make sure the APIs are coming back. We run the tests. We then run incremental tests, some burn tests, some employee trials.
Got it. It's up and running. So that's phase one.
Well, that phase one takes about 2 to 6 months in the window. And then although you can run that faster, sometimes it'll run faster. And we're charging this $50K a month. And it's not just the service. It's a managed service. So we're there on the installation. We're there with the technology, the engineering. We're there during live events. So the idea here is that we're not making, this isn't a huge revenue driver for us. We're getting you guys set up. At the end of this phase, you're going to end up with Everything that has your application, if you have 10 million subscribers, they'll all be able to do build your multi-view. That's what happens here. Phase 2, initial deployment.
I'm sorry. Let me just ask a question. You're saying at the end of phase 1, everybody will have build your own, or everybody will have static?
Everybody will have build your own. Like what I'm saying here is that at the beginning, doing Tessera, build your own, and once we get done with this phase, now the question isn't. The question now is everybody gets it. So if you've only now it's the second phase is how many multi-views do you want to build in the phase? If you open this up to 10 million people, what do you want to do? A limit of 50? Let's say you said I want a limit of 50 multi-views. Now 10 million people are asking for different multi-views. Those are going to come in. Those 50 multi-views are going to be in the cost structure of like $7 to $12 a multi-view hour. So if I run 50 for 10 hours, that's 500 multi-view hours. Now remember that you could either set an artificial cap of I'm going to do 50 for 10 million people, or I'm going to do more. I'm going to let the users do more. And remember, everything's going to change. If I'm doing Saturdays, I'm going to get a whole lot more requests and uniqueness than if I do Tuesday night. Maybe that's only a few. And the point is that, remember, you have this smart throttle control, which Skreens is providing, that is totally under the control of the provider. So in the initial phase, we've seen customers launch like 2 ad zones, or maybe they launch on a Thursday night, see what it looks like, get some customers' feet wet, and then you kind of grow, and the number of multi-view hours will increase, and this is what happens in phase 3. Now you got 10 million subscribers. They're happy. They're asking for multi-views every night, every day. And you've tuned in. You've got your KPIs. You're humming. The price, now the multi-view hours are increasing. So in our business model, the price is dropping in the way that we do our business model. And again, these prices are estimates based on adoption, and they're subject to change. I'm trying to give you an honest idea of the shape of what this cost looks like. To create the build your own system, you're already into this. You're into it fast. You're getting, and we're doing shared risk, shared success here. As you get better, and I'm saying you're going to eat more, the customer's going to eat more. We all benefit. Now, at the end of phase 3, you get to that phase, and you're humming along, and you're like, "Wow, this is fantastic." 2 things happen. First thing happens is the ops engineers will tell you, okay, I need to find a way to make this cheaper. I want this cheaper. How do I get this to be less expensive? And that's fine. And then the product people on the other side are like, I'm not worried about the cost is being handled by somebody else. I need to make more money with this thing. We've got this thing running. How do I make more money? And this is phase 4, optimization and scale. So I can tell you that the multi-view hour cost, if you're starting to really go multi-year deals and everything, the price can come down. The cost of the cloud will come down and continues to come down. There's new technology, especially in AI clouds, that'll drive that cost down. And if you're really interested, we can drive it down even further. The same solution can run in on-prem data. So you can make a CapEx and do that. Yeah.
Just to be clear, this is multi-view hour irrespective of the number of people who are watching. So if it's not 1 per user, it's 1 per channel.
That's correct.
Okay.
If you want to stand this system up and you want to pay $12 for 1 multi-view and give it to 10 million people, you're good to go.
Okay. Got it.
Yep. No, that's actually the benefit of the whole thing. But this and then lies, the cost is one thing. But I think you're missing the forest for the trees at this juncture. That cost, and you can get you can scrape that thing down a little bit more. But remember, the cost is here, and the revenue is here. If I can decrease the cost by 1 notch, but then increase the revenue by 10 notches, gross margin in between is what we're looking for. What we're all looking for. And I'm suggesting that there's an add-on to the Fusion, the Pixel Fusion technology provides something amazing at this phase. That's this. Dynamic advertising. This is just one facet There's many others. Because Tessera using Pixel Fusion allows you to edit the video in real time, you can insert ads into the multi-view, and the multi-view shape gives you all kinds of new advertising opportunities. Now, client-side multi-view guys already know this. Client-side multi-views already do interactive, all kinds of stuff, and they already do targeted ads and those type of things. And you got real innovators like Play Anywhere and others that are doing tremendous. They have tremendous technology for sports rights and interactive rights and creating those ads. And what they're doing, and what these web pages and others do, is they have a model for what they call in-stream versus out-of-stream ads. And so this really hasn't been present in like MSOs and others. I haven't seen it, but essentially, depending on what kind of ad contracts you have, here's how it works. Is that if you have, let's say you have two videos up, and the first video is Fox, and a Geico ad comes up, and I'm listening to Fox, and I'm watching ABC. Like it's muted. And the Geico ad runs on Fox, and I hear the Geico ad. That's what we call in-stream. When I hear the Geico ad, I get my full $20 CPM as a provider. Now on Fox, on ABC, the Geico ad runs over here, but I only saw the Geico ad, or I'm glancing over at that. Doesn't have the sound. That's out of stream. That the industry has been billing and paying 50% of the CPM, so $10 for that same Geico ad. Now, using that basic concept, this allows you to create just by having multi-view ads up, do nothing right off the bat. The provider's going to make more money as they work these deals out with ad companies. But think about this. Here's an idea that because Skreens, Pixel Fusion can put an ad in, we can actually insert an ad, put an ad in, run the ad we could do in-stream or we could do out-of-stream. We can do squeeze backs and put impressions. So the customer's watching 3 channels, but the ad's running in other areas of the screen. And this is all happening: impressions, sponsorships, custom backgrounds, polls, quizzes, all kinds of things. You could run 4 ads if you really wanted to get psychedelic. I could put 4 ads in there just like you see on web pages, right? We're not an ad company. Our job is to provide a platform with the speed, the flexibility, and the structure to allow me sitting here in my Boston watching the Celtics and Bruins, and then my provider saying, hey, you know what? I have a personalized ad I could insert here for Bud Light, and I'm going to charge Bud Light more CPM because there's 10,000 people watching that 2-up with the Celtics and Bruins. Insert the ad, you're making more money. The amount of revenue that you'll create off of this will start to become way more important than the lower cost of what it is to do. That's the power of personalization. The more personal we get, the more personalization you get, the higher the CPMs, the more information and analytics the provider gets, and the more money everybody in the food chain makes. Good? You're on mute.
I'm good.
Perfect. Okay, great. So there's that. Now, the evolution of TV and multi-views, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit to finish off here. My entire life, we've lived with linear broadcast TV, and linear has been fantastic. Broadcast, one-to-many, has been fantastic. We've solved problems in size and quality and reach. And it's been a fundamental technology semiconductor infrastructure problem with going away from linear broadcast. It's not been economically possible before. The reason that things are happening now is that the technology in the cloud and in the semiconductor make this possible. This is where Skreens patents lie. This is why we've been around a while as a deep tech startup. The whole idea behind this was what's going to happen is those semiconductors are going to change the equation, and we can go from just straight linear to boom, I can start creating some preset multi-views. People love these preset multi-views, just like many providers are doing. And then the next phase is, boom, now let the subscriber build your own. Like I was saying, subscribers in charge. They're going to get addicted to that. I create my own multi-views. Pixel Fusion provides all kinds of upside with revenue. There's more I'm even not listing. Pixel Fusion for ads is an add-on package to the existing. So the $4 to $7 or $12 we're charging you per hour is not part of the ad package. That's an additional package. But the idea here is you're making a whole bunch more money. And then where's it going? This isn't the end. This isn't the last stop that this train's going to take. The last stop is going to be hyper-personalization. What's going to happen is that over time, you're going to end up where subscribers are going to be able to do all of these things and integrate third-party integrations, unmatched interactivity, personalized agentic AI agents, so I can talk to my TV, bring this up, that up, run this bet, all of that cool stuff. We're happy to talk more about that, the futures, but this whole path, working with Skreens now, getting on the build your own multi-view, getting on the multi-view path, will set your company up for the long tail of how this is going to work going forward, and certainly around sports content. But we believe every form of entertainment and all content monetization is going to follow how good your personalization and hyper-personalization will become.
Feels like you're really pushing people towards build your own. Suppose I'm a sports provider and I just want static because the season's about to start and basketball is soon to follow. Is the startup period for static shorter than BY build your own, or is it about the same?
No, it's a little shorter because you can pin those up, and the only reason I would say a little shorter is that you could, in theory, if you didn't want to edit your application on your set-top box, you can simply have because they're all multi-view channels, it's just another channel in the list, you can add them to the end of your EPG and have the user select it that way. So this way you could save some time by doing that. And a lot of our customers like doing the statics up front first. One, it's a different realm. Everything we're doing here is a different animal than what's been in the past. We're talking about dynamically creating brand new channels that are being consumed by end consumers and then ripping them up and tearing them down. So product teams got to get their heads around it. And as they get more on board with it, the next step of build your own becomes very quick. But I can tell you that I believe that if I were a service provider, I'd be after build your own immediately. And the reason is that, like I said, this is not going away. This isn't a one-off. It's not. This is as an industry as DVR. Would you launch a service without a DVR or like?
No, I mean that's my point. My point is more if I can get it up a month quicker in static, then I want to do that because it's because I don't want to lose subscribers because my main competitor just got either build your own or static. So I just want to understand if I can accelerate my deployment if I go static only.
Yeah, honestly, the way to accelerate your deployment is be committed. If the provider is committed, making it a priority, we can get these systems up incredibly fast, very fast. We're not the long pole in the tent, I guess that's what I'm kind of getting at. The long pole in the tent is internally getting commitment that what are we going to do? How's it going to work? What's the user interface going to look like? Who do we have engineering time for the GUI guy, right? That sort of stuff. I believe that subscriber churn is going to provide the incentive for that focus. because again, the YouTube TV it's unmistakable. They were small, they are now large, and it's sports and entertainment. And every day that goes by, what's happening is that, edge type things aren't the same. And again, personalized multi-view is just a step into that personalization realm. So I believe it's a bigger step. Yep.
Yeah, totally get it. The feels one of the things we haven't talked about is kind of the second screen, and this is probably a softball question, and we shouldn't spend a lot of time with it, but it feels like a lot of the ESPN offering was to recapture some of the value that was lost to the second screen application, whether it was betting or fantasy or social media or even watching another game. How much is Tessera allowing publishers or anybody who uses it to recapture that? Because that's a big revenue loss that really isn't measured, but everybody should be watching.
Yeah, everything I've shown you is pretty basic right now for what we're doing, right? And the power that we're representing just with what I've shown you. And again, remember, we're doing things like we can do 7-up spotlights and 8-ups. Like, in other words, we have all the power to do the things. We've got the API in there. We've got the patented structures. For things like second screens and stuff, if you had a provider that really wanted to take advantage of it, it's massive, because now you're getting all of the elements of being able to place bets and take information from there and feed that back into something dynamic that ends up coming back down on the big screen TV. So I actually think the second screen and the first screen are the same screen. If you look at the hyper-personalization, it's the same screen. It's just different pixels in the thing. So we have other technology like pixel leasing and other really cool things that we can discuss with you maybe at a later thing. But we've had a long while. Again, Skreens is a company focused on hyper-personalization with AI agent assistance. So, you're going to get all of that stuff. And I don't see it going the other way, because look at the unit cost. If I can build a multi-view for $20 or under, and I can send it to 10 million people, why wouldn't I do that? And oh, by the way, the user can actually ask and they get it immediately. Like, the obviousness of now the technology is there for that dramatically changes what's going to happen in the future, I believe. And again, my personal opinion.
Well, I think the way you set up the phases is kind of interesting, because you're putting the customer in control, but clearly there's I guess advantage, disadvantage, server side, client side. Client side, there's no additional transcoding. Server side, every channel there's an additional transcoding cost. So there really is there's this balance between the operation guys saying I'm really concerned about cost, and the marketing guys or people saying this is a great platform. We really need to leverage it. And there's the anti-churn stuff that you've mentioned a couple of times, but there's also the ability to create new income or additional income that they didn't have before within the context of a personalized experience like Multiview. So it's nice the way you've laid out the adoption curve or the deployment curve, because I think it's really responsive to how people are going to want to use it. Prove the concept, expand as demand picks up, add additional products, and then once it's up and running, cost reduce, because there's no reason not to cost reduce even when you're chasing additional revenue.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Jan. Again, even if you don't do the add insert piece, like let's say the plain chocolate and vanilla, and let's say the multi-view costs $20 to make a nice round number. It costs you $20 for us to do that. Let's say we're doing that at the low volume numbers. If you get 1,000 people that watch that, the very first Geico ad that you got $20 CPM covers the cost of the entire thing. And if you have 10 million subscribers, what the idea here is that there's a direct, immediate cost, and the build your own, instead of having to, you don't know if the guy's going to watch it if it's static. But in build your own, the guy's going to watch it because I asked for it. And if he asked for it, there's another 1,000 guys, 10,000, 100,000 guys that look like that. And pretty powerful. Pretty powerful.
And I guess to kind of close is that we've talked about we've talked about the traditional ways to make money, the advertising, churn reduction, subscriber pickup. We haven't really talked about the new ways of making money, which are, we just mentioned the betting, the fantasy, essentially new channels that people use where, you're not paying for sports rights for those channels. They're kind of ancillary to it. So you've got, on one, and this is in an article that I just published on Streaming Learning Center, but you've got the income effect, you've got the advertising effect, and then you've got the ability to create new stuff that gives you more income. And then, in the future somewhere, not too distant future, you've got the hyper-personalization stuff. So I think it feels like a pretty compelling argument, particularly because the user is in control of how or the publisher is in control of how it's laid out. If it doesn't work, keep only a few channels. If it works great, you won't have to need convincing to add new channels and new features.
Exactly. And real product disruptive technology shifts have to have that property. It's not fly-by-night, tail-light guarantee, like, I just sold them something in a box, they're not going to use it, thank God I got my commission check in, right? Like, that's not what's going on here. We're talking about a systemic shift in core technology that's really disruptive, and it's kind of like, it'll feel like boiling a frog, right? You boil a frog by increasing the temperature a little bit in advance, and then the frog realizes it'll just sit there and die because it boils to death, right? What's happening here is that we're seeing this on-ramp to personalization and forcing the providers and whatnot to address what end customers want, and it's unleashing with the race now with 400 horses, and they're all racing down the field. YouTube TV is 7 furlongs ahead, but everyone's going to be chasing them. And it's going to keep going like that, and it's around personalization. There's no other way about it.
Okay, do you have a contact slide next?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, again, you can come see Tessera at IBC. We're going to be at IBC in Amsterdam. We have a room where we're setting up meetings, and if you go to Skreens' website, www.skreens.com, you can ask for more information. You can also request a meeting at IBC. We have a calendar app for that. And anybody who's interested in learning more about build your own multiview in Tessera, just please reach out to us. Again, I really appreciate the time and all the patience with my Boston long explanation into crazy stuff. I appreciate it, Jan. Thank you.
This has been very useful. Thanks for taking the time. And, I'm not going to be at IBC, but good luck at the show.
Sure. Cheers.